Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this year's very special eTwinning conference. If you'd like to take your seats, those of you at the back, we're going to get started now. So thank you so much for joining us for this conference this year with this wonderful title, Celebrating What Unites Us. And that's really what the eTwinning community is all about. And of course, this year, we're celebrating the 20th anniversary of the eTwinning programme. I think that deserves a round of applause. And of course, it's thanks to so many people in this room, teachers. It's all about teachers. So it's so great to have all of you here with us this year. We've had 20 years of collaboration, of teachers reaching out across national borders to bring students of all ages together in other places. 20 years of bringing Europe to life in the hearts and minds of teachers and their students right the way across the continent. My name is Sally Reynolds, and it really is a great honour for me to be your moderator this afternoon. I've been a huge fan of eTwinning down through the years. When you go into schools and you find the photographs on the walls of the connections they've been making with schools from different parts of Europe, I think it's incredibly important, and that's why it's really lovely to be with you this afternoon. I really think that eTwinning, a bit like Erasmus, is very much the glue, part of the essential glue that manages to make Europe real for so many people today. Very big welcome, of course, to all the teachers, schools and educational stakeholders from across Europe, not just those of you who are here with us this afternoon in Brussels, where the weather is not so great, I'm afraid, sorry about that, but also to people who are joining us online, because we're also streaming the session this afternoon, and of course other sessions over the next 2 days as well. As you already know, this year the conference is all about celebrating and exploring the 24-25 theme, which was citizenship education, as well as putting a spotlight on what the theme is for next year, which, as you all know, is skills for life. This year's event is going to include discussions, workshops, and lots of networking opportunities. You're going to have lots of opportunities to network and to meet with one another. It's all about and it's all about fostering democratic participation, European values and essential skills for life. So we have a very busy couple of days ahead. So first of all, we're going to wrap up the 24-25 topic by showcasing best practices as well as research and policies that promote active democratic participation and European values in education. But we're also going to launch the Skills for Life theme as well too, by having insights into maths, digital literacy, science and citizenship education. We have very ambitious goals for the conference this year, by the way. So just to put you in line about those and what we expect. First of all, it's all about empowering everyone taking part to become eTwinning power users. So we are expecting you to be, you already are of course, but to go forward as eTwinners who have the ability, skills and enthusiasm to engage other colleagues and involve them in eTwinning. So that's goal number one. Goal number two is to strengthen all participants' sense of belonging to the eTwinning community. As I say, not just in this room, but also with our people who are joining us online across the European continent. And on top of that, we aim to familiarise participants with the topics of the conference, of course. It's an opportunity to take a deep dive into the various different topics that we've been addressing over the last year. So, let's get started. We're going to have a short welcome by video from Roxana Mînzatu, who's the Executive Vice President for Social Rights and Skills, Quality Jobs and Preparedness from the European Commission.
Dear friends, it is a real pleasure to join you in celebrating 20 years of eTwinning. What began as a small project with 10,000 teachers has grown into a community of more than 300,000 across 46 countries. You have helped schools work together, share ideas, and learn from one another. eTwinning shows that when schools connect, something powerful happens. And it reminds us of a simple truth. Teachers are at the heart of every success. You open minds, you build confidence, you help children see the possibilities ahead of them. Beyond the classroom, many children also look to you for guidance and emotional support. It is an incredibly complex and demanding role. And today, your work matters more than ever. We can see that, and we understand that. And we are here to support you. Next year, the European Commission will present a new education package with an ambitious European teachers and trainers agenda at its core. We will focus on 3 priorities. First, better recognition of your profession, improving working conditions, and listening to your needs together with social partners. Second, supporting innovation in teaching, giving you better access to training, to digital tools, and to mobility opportunities. And third, strengthening what we teach, addressing the alarming decline in basic skills like maths, reading, and science. We must rebuild strong fundamentals, and this includes not only digital skills, but also the skill of citizenship. Citizenship is essential for healthy democracies. It must be part of every young person's education. And Europe needs young people who can think for themselves, who use AI as a tool for progress, not a guide to follow blindly. The strength of our democracy depends on people who ask questions and develop a vision, not on machines that provide easy answers. Teaching critical thinking from an early age is not just part of education, it is part of protecting our democracy. These are some of the ideas I'd like to put on the table. We will have many opportunities to discuss them together. Let us join forces to recognize, to promote, and support teachers for the essential role that you play in children's lives and in the future of Europe. I thank you for your passion, your hard work, and your dedication to education.
Many thanks to Mrs. Mînzatu for her kind words and good wishes. So now it's my very great pleasure to welcome to the stage Normunds Popens. He is the Deputy Director General for Education, Youth, Sport and Culture from the European Commission, who we are honoured to have joining us to give the opening speech at this year's conference. Thank you.
Good afternoon, dear teachers, or eTwinners, I should say. It is my pleasure and honor really to be here today to celebrate with you the 20th anniversary of the eTwinning project. When I was coming in, some people were laughing at me and said, you will have like a big exam because they are all teachers. I do feel a little bit like, no, you're so seriously looking at me. But actually, I have certain credibility because 1 year of my life I did work as a teacher full-time in a small high school in a suburb of Riga. And I have to say that I always tell to my managers, if you can manage a class of 13-year-old people, then you can be a manager. If you can't, then don't even try. It's a demanding job. It's very, very demanding, but it's also very, very important. I mean, this project, I hope that we conclude today that you have gained from this project and profited, and that you have learned something new and exchanged knowledge that is important for your work. Because European Union, obviously, as the whole world, is going through many challenges and transitions, starting with digital, green, of course, industrial. We are challenged by different other global happenings, and of course the priority for us also is to rebuild and strengthen European Union's competitiveness to achieve, and new defense policy. To achieve anything in one of those fields, of course we need rules, we need legislation, funding, but for me that's not the key to success. The key to success for us is people. These are people who actually understand, who actually think critically and have skills to do these transitions and to deal with the challenges that are in front of us. As our president said, to safeguard and defend the European Union. This is a time of many different crises, and one crisis comes after another. And if you don't have skilled people, we are dealing with these crises in a bad way. So hopefully, we will have a lot of skilled people in the future, but that's up to you. That's thanks to your work. Because of course, we need people with specialized skills, but everything starts in schools, even I say preschools, kindergartens. Everything depends on teachers. If the teachers do their job with commitment and interest and help students to gain their knowledge, then of course we will succeed. And that's so sad to see that according to some surveys, only 15% of teachers believe that their profession is valued in a society. That's really sad. But you know what is even saddest for me is also the fact that now when you look at statistics, and I'm sure you know this, but I bring it up everywhere where I speak, because I think it's so horrifying that 30% of 15-year-olds in the EU do not have minimum proficiency in mathematics. Basically, they don't know how to count. 25% struggle with reading and sciences, of course. And 43% of 8th graders struggle with basic digital literacy. Surprise, they all have iPads and PCs and iPhones, and they struggle with digital literacy. Of course, only 63% of young people have adequate knowledge of civic knowledge. And on that note, my example, I visited my country as part of the going back to school days, and I was meeting the 12th graders, which is the last grade in Latvian system. And I actually asked them, so what is the European Union? And you know what they said? Some people said, something about steel. Another one said, no, it's something about coal. Okay, so I realized that I will be desperately explaining to them how EU works. And then there was a glimpse of light. Somebody said, EU is Erasmus. I think it's time to applaud for our program, because Erasmus Plus, which has been funding also, I think, your network, is our flagship program. And now when we are negotiating the new multi-annual financial frame, there was absolutely no question that Erasmus Plus must stay, that the funding must be increased, and that, of course, we have to also reinvent this program by adding the new measures that are important, particularly also linked to the work of teachers and trainers. You heard our Executive Vice President. Union of Skills is our big frame, and we, in terms of preparing Europeans for the future with the right skills. And as part of that union, we in DGAC have been working on many action plans. So there is an action plan of basic skills, which will also be preparing basic skills support scheme. There is a STEM education strategic plan, which addresses shortages in STEM among pupils and qualified teachers. And there is also a new digital action plan. And the novelty is that in the Union of Skills initiative, based on that, in 2026, we will launch Teachers and Trainers Agenda. And there we need your help. Because obviously in this field, member states have a lot of authority, but I do believe that cooperation at the European Union level and working together, we can show how also teachers can actually be valued, how they can be given opportunities to learn also themselves and to increase their capacity to work as teachers. And of course, we also have to look how can we also mobilize member states to support more teachers and schools and pupils. And for that, we need a common effort. You heard from our Executive Vice President around which lines this new Teachers and Trainers Agenda will look like, but we are still consulting you, so please be active and go and make your voice heard. It's on the European School Education Platform, and this survey is open until the 6th of November, so I hope that you all have done it already. Nevertheless, if you haven't, please go and make your voice heard. eTwinning is one of our flagship projects, and as I said, I hope that today's conclusion is that it's a success. It has been valuable for you. So I'm looking forward also to recognizing some of the award-winning projects. What is good is that in this project, of course, it just brings together people from all member states, and not only member states, also from outside the European Union. And projects like this show also how eTwinnings can bring citizenship education to life, because you heard from our, again, EVP that citizenship education is also part of the basic skills. I will stop here and I will just thank you for being part of this network, and I'm looking forward to our discussions in this forum. And you can smile if I make a joke, so thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Popens. I think you have inspired the room. We will be smiling for the rest of the 2.5 days. So thank you so much for that. I'd like to move on now, because it really is my very great pleasure to welcome Louisa Slavkova from the Sofia Platform Foundation, who will be getting our conference off to a really good start with a keynote presentation this afternoon, which is entitled, as you know, Schools as the Most Important Infrastructure in Europe: Curiosity, Judgment and Belonging to in our classrooms. Louisa is a political scientist and civic educator based in Sofia in Bulgaria. She's the founding director of the Sofia Platform Foundation, which works on historical memory, civic education and democratization in Eastern Europe. She's a co-founder and managing director of the Civics Innovation Hub, a European Think and Do task force, or tank, which I really love. I love the idea of Think and Do tanks on civic education. Her team manages the largest European network on citizenship education, NECE, and she regularly speaks and writes on democracy, civic education, and the legacy of totalitarian regimes in Europe. Louisa, you're very welcome to join us on stage, and we're very much looking forward to your presentation.
Good afternoon. Feels a little bit like evening, but I promise it's not. Let me start with a question. How many of you in this room come from smaller towns or cities outside the capital? Okay. And how many of you come from the capital cities, but from neighborhoods that feel as if they're their separate towns? Okay, don't be shy. Okay, so I think I can conclude that this is the majority of us. Now, I myself grew up in a small town in Bulgaria. I met this morning at breakfast a couple of teachers from Bulgaria, so you would know where Karnubat is, I hope. My mom used to say that when you live in the capital as opposed to a little town, you learn the moment you step outside of your door. You go and you read the cultural posters and you're already super educated about what's going on in the city. Now, in my town, at the time where I grew up, there was no cinema. There was no theater. Obviously, I'm also a little older, so there was also no internet. The only space that we kids could consider our own space was an abandoned bus station. In many of the small towns and the smaller cities and the villages, this hasn't really changed much up to date. Now, years later, in that same town in Bulgaria, there are 2 youth spaces, and both are inside of high schools. And you might think that's a little strange that the only spaces for the young people are still within an institution and under the eyes of the teachers. Perhaps that's strange, but at least there are the spaces now. And for someone like me, this is progress. And it matters because of what my younger self missed at that time. And it matters also because of what young people need today. We live in an age of a lot of multiple crises, but one of them is loneliness. social isolation, with or without COVID, digital overload. You know those TikTok videos where kids are actually bragging about the fact that they missed social outings? This comes from the overload. So the physical opportunities to meet, to connect, to belong are rare, but they become very important. There's a recent documentary that has this very blunt title, Join or Die. It tells the story of Robert Putnam, that's him on the picture, on the left side. He's a social scientist who many years ago wrote a book that's called Bowling Alone. Now, the argument in the book, but also in this movie, is quite simple. When community connections decline, democracy declines. People feel more anxious, more polarized, more vulnerable to disinformation, and they're also more drawn to the extremes. Not to mention the fact that people die younger and unhappier. What this means is that those spaces where we come together and connect have a great importance today, maybe much greater than they used to 10, 20, or 30 years ago. And the school, it seems, is one of the most important spaces we have. And it's perhaps the space for connections, especially in the smaller towns. Now, too often, when we talk about schools, we focus on the material base. We talk about the fresh paint on the walls. We talk about the STEM labs. We talk about the modern equipment. These things are important, but there are 1,000 studies out there that show that the real difference doesn't come from the furniture, but it comes from the quality of the connection inside the classroom. This is the connection that you are building with your own students. To me, this is not something abstract. After the age of 13, those of you who are familiar with the ICS study would know, young people turn much more to you for knowledge, for guidance, for wisdom, than to their families and their parents. But if the connection is not working, they turn to TikTok. So what they find in your classrooms is not, you sharing facts and information, but it actually becomes a place for belonging, a space where they can fail and try again, a space where ideally they're accepted as they are, and where your support is not conditioned on their success. So the title of this conference, What's Uniting Us, speaks very much about European belonging. But European belonging, we cannot talk about it if we do not practice that belonging on the smallest level in Europe. And this is in our towns. It's also in our schools, in the classroom, in the community. So in that sense, European belonging does not begin here in Brussels. It begins at home. David Brooks, for those of you who read American press, he writes very often for the New York Times. He had recently a very long piece on how today's young people are the most rejected generation. They submit hundreds of applications for internships, for jobs, and they get rejected all the time. So they feel ignored, unseen, shut out. And this is exactly why what happens in the classrooms with you matters so much to them. You have the power to make them feel that this is a place they belong to. But belonging itself and alone doesn't make us immediately European. And as you know, Europe has never stopped at its doorsteps. There was a Romanian philosopher who once said that politically, Europe really is in Brussels. maybe Strasbourg. But culturally, it goes all the way down to Ural and to the Bosphorus. So to be European, to me, means to be able to look beyond the hill, to ask what lies on the other side. Writer and geographer Robert Kaplan once observed that people from mountainous regions develop a special kind of curiosity. They always want to see what lies on the other side of the hill. So this is curiosity, and this is also very European. Why? Because I think we have always been curious about our neighbors, about their languages, about their histories, about their way of life. Now, curiosity alone is not enough either. It only comes alive, or mainly comes alive, in conversations. Hakan Altanay, those of you coming from Turkey might know him, a public intellectual. He wrote recently a piece that's called "The Miracle That Is a Conversation." And there he explains what the word conversation actually means. It comes from con and verse, and that means to change together. So conversation is not a transaction. I give you something, and you give me something in return. It is not just an exchange of information. A conversation is changing together. And this is something that artificial intelligence cannot do, not even ChatGPT. So algorithms, as you know, can answer questions. They can ask really good ones, but they cannot surprise us with the same generosity and actual risk that the actual conversation brings. And yet, you, live in schools that are all about efficiency. Covering the syllabus, moving according to the plan, ticking the boxes, reporting data. Efficiency is very important. But curiosity and conversation, they're not efficient. A real conversation actually slows you down. A student's question might actually derail the plan for your class. But those moments of inefficiency are the heart of learning and of democracy. And I think you know this better than anyone else. I saw that in your eTwinning projects, you are putting more effort, more coordination, more patience, more conversations. They're effective, but they're not efficient. And I think you would agree with me. But what they spark in your students, the excitement, the discovery, the courage to ask, I think this is all unforgettable. And so if curiosity and conversation open our minds, then comes the next challenge, deciding what to let in. And this is where critical thinking, or I would just call it judgment, comes in. We live in a very noisy world. That's social media, disinformation, all the AI-generated content. There's floods of that. So students are surrounded by information and by a lot of manipulation. But here's the good news. Research shows that the decisive factor is you, meaning that young people build trust and learn how to deal with sources based on what you teach them and not what the gadgets teach them. I think this is to what also the statistics that the previous speaker mentioned speak to. Digital competences are not built simply by using the devices. They're built by what you model in classroom. And this, I think, also nicely connects to some of the eTwinning projects that you have been doing, especially those on media literacy and disinformation. You had students compare sources of the same event across different countries. And this is really critical thinking in action. So curiosity opens the door, conversations bring us together, but judgment tells us what belongs inside the mind. And of course, you know that none of this is made easy. Many of you are exhausted by low pays. We know that the teacher's profession is not very high in the ranking these days. You have quite a bit administrative work to do, and there is the constant pressure to be efficient. And children themselves have changed. Their attention spans, their own expectations, their fears, and it's all shaped by the digital environment. I'm not even starting to talk about the parents here. But there is the paradox. All those challenges we talked about, the loneliness epidemic, the disinformation, polarization, they only make the role you have more important and more essential. So every time you let curiosity, every time you make space for a real conversation, and every time you practice critical thinking with them, you are actually strengthening democracy itself, at home and for Europe. So going back to the bigger picture, to me, the most important civic infrastructure in Europe is not its bridges, it's also not its roads, or even the fiber optic cables that deliver the internet. It is the bond you have, the teacher with your students. So every time you ask a better question, every time you model a source check on the web, every time you give the quietest student the chance and the courage to speak, you are building Europe's civic fabric. To the policymakers in this room, I think you got it right, but I still want to make sure that this message gets over to you. Investing in Europe's civic infrastructure means really not investing only in better schools, in better equipment, but in teachers, because they are the real infrastructure of our shared democracy. Let me leave you with one thought and one idea for what to do maybe next. If you're going back to school on Friday, or maybe that's Monday, depending on how long you stay in Brussels, take a moment to yourself. Maybe it's a minute, maybe it's 5 minutes, and write down one thing that you were genuinely curious about. Could be something you saw in Brussels that made you spark your imagination, but could be also something like, why do all kids like junk food? We adults too, actually. And then in class, invite your students into curiosity as well. And do please ask them a question you yourselves don't know the answer to. I think being in a position of not knowing makes us being very humble and puts us also in the shoes of the young people. To be European in the 21st century is to remain curious about the other side of the hill, just like those mountainous people, to practice judgment in a noisy world, and to give each other the belonging that makes exploring the world in Europe safe. So curiosity, critical thinking, and belonging. To me, they're very human, they're very European. And if we keep them alive, Europe will not remain just a place on the map, but a promise that we keep for our own sake and for the sake of our children.
Thank you so much, Louisa, on all our behalf for really setting us, I think, and putting the role of teachers so firmly in place. We do have some time for some questions, so we would very much like to open the floor if anybody here in the room would like to put a question to Louisa. We also, of course, have just over almost 300 people following this afternoon session now online as well. So if you would also like to put a question, you are more than welcome, and we will happily put them to Louisa. We have 2 people with microphones, so that's always good news. So if you would like to put up your hand, we already got a first question, so thank you very much, Ruth. So question for you from one of our people who's following online. How do you stimulate critical thinking in our students? Which is the right key? Difficult question.
Yeah, of course. I think critical thinking in a classroom is best sparked by supporting young people ask the right questions. I think kids, just like all of us, have intuition, right? And so intuition is based on experience. And the more you support kids asking good questions, the more they start sometimes questioning their own assumptions, but also learning how to train this curiosity muscle. Because to me, critical thinking and curiosity are very interlinked. The moment you lose that curiosity about other people, other opinions, I think it's very difficult to be thinking critically. And I think the great thing about kids is that they're born with curiosity. Sometimes we box them into squares and reduce that curiosity. There is a great link between the two.
Yeah. Thank you. And in fact, this question goes on as well. So creating questions is more important than giving ready-made by-the-book answers. Have we managed to manage this shift in the role of education, this role of the teacher, rather than being the sage on the stage, as we sometimes say, who knows everything, to being the guide on the side? Are we doing that? And how do we do that better?
I think this is very difficult. Formal institutions of education where teachers like you get trained are quite often very traditional. There's a good reason for that, but by virtue of being traditional, they oftentimes kill that sense of, or that ability and those skills of actually being and remaining open-minded and being in the role of guiding students rather than instructing them. I myself, as I said, I come from a post-communist country, and for a greater part of my life, I myself feared not being caught not knowing something. Yeah, and so it took a lot of self-training to be able to say, I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, I'd love to know how many teachers in the room actually say, I don't know sometimes, which is a very hard question. Hands up anybody who said, I don't know in front of a classroom. Because I think that's a really brave step to make, isn't it, when you can actually do that. Thank you. I don't think we have any questions in the audience so far as I can see. I'll take another one then online. How would you stimulate self-motivation?
With young people or with teachers?
Good question. It's just how would you stimulate self-motivation? You could try both.
Yeah. Well, I think an environment is the environment in which young people live and move through the city or through the school, is very important. So if the environment is inviting and it's encouraging participation, then it's easy. The question is, how do you deal, let's say, with a school where you as a teacher teach great things about participation in class, but the school itself is very limiting in that sense. So I'm thinking what we would call in our professional language an enabling environment. So young kids model your behavior. If you yourselves, volunteer or do other activities or talk about stuff that you do, not necessarily just in school, but outside of school, or stories of other young people you've heard in your school or in the city, I think this is always role models. Role models, I think, are very important for all of us, but especially for young kids, and especially for those kids who do not have them at home or in their families.
Okay, thank you, Louisa. I don't think we have anything further in the audience for now. You've given us such a lot to think about. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
So,
thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Louisa.
Thank you.
So now we're going to take a break. You'll be delighted to know we're having a break until 3:45. Lots of time for networking here in the room, so please make the best use of it. You're also very welcome, of course, to share on the social media channels what you've picked up today, what you're thinking about, and of course any photos that you'd like to share as well. So thank you very much. We'll be back at 3:45. Thank you. Sorry, everybody, just a tiny little bit of housekeeping. We are going to, because we're a little bit ahead of ourselves, I had to put my teacher's voice on, as people say. We're a little bit ahead of ourselves, so we're going to invite you all back. We're a little bit ahead of ourselves in the agenda, so we're going to invite you all back for 3:30, including our people who are following online as well. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I hate to break in on the conversations that are taking place, but welcome back to the second half of our session this afternoon. So I hope that you have all had a very nice break, first of all, and maybe hands up everybody who's met somebody they didn't know before today. I met some new people. Okay, few people haven't yet met. Okay, your mission by the end of the day is to meet at least one new person that you didn't know when you came into the room today. So you're very welcome back to this fun part of the afternoon. Not that the other part wasn't fun as well, don't get me wrong. But now, of course, we have the prize giving for the awards for the eTwinning Award for this year, which is always a lovely moment, I think, at the conference every year, when we get a chance to really celebrate some of the great projects, the eTwinning projects that have taken place right the way across Europe. I wanted to give you an idea, first of all, of how many projects were involved and how the process actually works, for those of you that are not familiar with it. It begins with teachers applying to their national support organisation for a national quality label. These are allocated according to a set of predefined evaluation criteria, which are collaboration between partner schools, use of technology, pedagogical approaches, curricular integration, and results and documentation. So some really, really strict criteria there. Once a project then has got a national quality label from at least 2 different countries, so that's really important, the project is then eligible for the European quality label. However, only the very top scored projects receive this particular label. The projects with the European quality label can apply to for European prizes. That's how it works. This year, we had over 1,209 prize applications at this level, which is really wonderful when you think about it in terms of collaboration, all the people that were involved and all the people who took part, and all the students and pupils who took part in the schools, of course. The national support organisations then nominate 320 of these projects to go to the next round. In the next round, experts from all 46 countries nominate 53 projects, so we get down to 53 in all categories for the final round. And then the final evaluation is carried out by the Central Support Service, the Executive Agency, and the European Commission. So it's quite a lengthy process, but of course a very important process in order to be able to show that what you're going to see this afternoon, the 5 winners, are indeed the very top of the top in terms of the winners this year. So, I'm very delighted to welcome Norman Popens to come and join us. He is going to be our very happy distributor of the prizes this afternoon and meet all of our prize winners. And I'd like to welcome up on stage in a few moments, but this is the first winner, and it is School Nest, a place of well-being, and it's winner of the Early Childhood Education and Care category. School Nest involves schools in Greece, Portugal, Slovakia, Czechia, Turkey, Spain, and Estonia. So quite a number of schools, lots of different European countries. Exactly. Where really young pupils, because this is the very early age group, of course, they took part in loads of different activities to help them have a better understanding of the environment. So we're going to have a short look.
This project focused on the importance of play in the learning process. It helped young students understand what climate change is by doing experiments and various activities related to their everyday lives.
Niektoré kľúčové príklady zahŕňajú napríklad stavanie vtáčich hniezd z prírodnej hliny a pozorovanie, ako ich lastovičky využívajú ako úkryt, vytvorenie hry na opeľovanie založené na kódovaní, kde deti naprogramovali digitálne včely na zber nektáru a dokončenie procesu opeľovania.
Τι καινούριο έμαθες από το πρόγραμμα?
Έμαθα να προσέχω το περιβάλλον.
Congratulations. I'd like to welcome up on stage. I'd like to welcome from Czechia, Eva, from Portugal, Susana, from Spain, Maria Ascension. I'm not doing family names because I don't want to spare my own blushes. We also are welcoming us from Estonia, Yelena, also Susana from Slovakia, Nalan from Turkey. Also from Greece, we have Eleni, Christina, Antigone, Styliana, Evangelis, Maria, Margarita, Adriana, and Margarita. And we also have Margarita Tiniakou from Greece, who wasn't able to join us, but she was also very much one of the partners. So a big round of applause to this team. Sometimes it takes a lot of teachers to run an eTwinning project.
So you should exchange it on your side.
Thank you so much. And we're going to take a photograph with the winning team. So congratulations to everybody. Did I get the names right? Kind of. I got the names kind of right, I hope. Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Then we're going to take a photograph over here. Thank you. Round of applause. Indeed, 2 layers, yeah. Big smile. Thank you. Thank you so much. If you'd like to come this way, thank you. This way. And congratulations to everyone who's wearing an eTwinning t-shirt. I see lots of eTwinning t-shirts. I'd like to then introduce our second winner. Our second winner is podcast.us. It is winner in the 7 to 11-year-old category. Podcast.us involves schools from Poland, Italy, and Spain, and really helped to give students practical and creative skills they needed to make their own podcasts.
Podcast.us, as the name says, is a project focused on recording podcast episodes. Students learn what podcasts are, how they can be used to learn. Instead of just listening to podcasts, they became the creators, which was a really motivating activity for them.
The episodes are about their interests, hobbies, like for example cars, or future, or space, or music. The greatest benefit for my students was actually the opportunity to experience the process of learning in a non-traditional way.
Creating podcasts was fun. It wasn't just about school. It was about learning to work with others and understanding their hobbies and culture.
Congratulations to podcast.us. And I'd like to welcome from Italy, we have Susanna, from Poland, Olga, and from Spain, Judith. Congratulations. So if you'd like to, perfect.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Judith. Lovely. Thank you very much. Congratulations. We'll take a photo. Thank you all very much. We now move on to our third winner. And our third winner is Building a Bright, B-R-I-G-H-T future. This is the winner in the 12 to 15-year-old category. This winning entry involves schools from Spain, Italy, and Turkey who work together to create their own great new physical communal spaces. So let's take a look at this one.
Our students had to select an abandoned area in their community and had to work together with their partners to restore it, transform it into a green oasis.
We perfectly integrated the project into our school schedule. We improved the communication through visual materials, simple English, translation tools, and collaborative digital platforms. At the end of the project, They became more confident, responsible, and aware of their roles as active citizens.
It was amazing to see how people from different cultures could come together, work on a common goal.
Congratulations. I'd like to welcome then Anna from Italy. From Spain, we have Sonia and Isabel. And from Turkey, we welcome Zara. So delighted to welcome the 4 finalists representing Building a Bright Future. Congratulations. Anna. Lovely, we put you all in together. Maybe move a little bit over, that's great, thank you. Super, we get a nice photograph. Thank you so much. Thank you. And congratulations to Building a Bright Future. So, time to introduce you to our 4th winner. And our 4th winner is Keeping the Memory Alive. And this is winner in the 16 to 19-year-old category. And this winning entry involves students and teachers from Slovakia and Romania who work together to help keep the memories and the memorials of the Holocaust alive in Europe today.
Keeping the Memory Alive is an innovative eTwinning project dedicated to educate European students about the Holocaust and preserving the people memory who suffered and died in the Second World War. The aim was to convey to the younger generation the message of respect for human values, support democracy, to fight against hatred, intolerance, violence. It is not just a project, it is a life lesson.
Working with Romanian students in this eTwinning project was a really meaningful experience. Even though we come from different countries, we were united by a shared purpose.
We improved our English language and social skills and collaborative skills. We learned how to share and listen to opinions and communicate.
So congratulations to Keeping the Memory Alive. And it's my pleasure to welcome Christina, Julia and Susanna to the stage. Christina, Julia and Susanna. So 2 of the lead teachers from Slovakia and Romania. Thank you so much. And if you'd like to take a photo. Thank you. So thank you so much and congratulations. If you'd like to come. I'm going to interrupt you now. It's okay. All right, we'll move on. And we'll move now to our 5th, by no means last, but in fact our last winner that we're going to announce today, and that is the MOOC Entrepreneurial Skills. And this is winner in the Initial Vocational Education and Training category this year. This entry involves students and teachers in Portugal, Spain and Germany who work together in helping students to build a really broad set of entrepreneurial skills.
The project focused on entrepreneurial skills as a part of a MOOC course. The students choose one European company and then they had to answer the 4 key questions. What does the company do? What makes it successful? What are the risks? And what recommendation could help the company?
We were amazed at how well our students work across languages and cultures. They supported one another, collaborating naturally, and took real ownership of their learning.
Speaking another language is much more than a different translation. It also represents the culture and the way to express oneself.
Through this project, just learn about business planning or marketing, learned how to communicate better, how to work in international teams, how to solve problems, and how to stay flexible.
Congratulations. And so I'd like to welcome to the stage Gerrit Peter, Nicole, Andrea from Germany, from Portugal, Sarah and Daniel, and from Spain we have Immaculada, Beatriz, Rosa and Maria José. You're very welcome to join, and congratulations. It's a big team. Well done. Thank you very much. Great team from 3 different countries collaborating together. Thank you. Okay, big round of applause then. Thank you. Rose, have we got you in the middle? Yeah. Great. We'll take our photo. Smile. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for being such a wonderful moderator.
Okay, then we move on to the next part. All right, thank you so much, everybody who's joined us. But before we're going to move on to our panel discussion, which is the last part of our session this afternoon, we would like to give a shout out on all of our behalf to the runners-up in this year's competition. And I know that quite a few of them actually are in the room. So we know that in terms of runners-up, first of all, in the ESEC, in the very young category, we have AI and IoT, Let Us Save Birdie's Tree. This is from teachers in Greece and Cyprus. Congratulations. We would also like to really congratulate the runners-up in the 7 to 11 category, and that is Mysteries in the Mist, run by teachers in Spain, Poland, Italy, and France. We also would like, congratulations. We'd also like to thank our third of the finalists, of the runners-up, and this is in the category in 12 to 15, and it's called 2024, A Trip Through Anniversaries. Congratulations. And last but by no means least, the runner-up in the 16 to 19 category is Our Sustainable Holiday Trip True. And this is from teachers in Tunisia, Romania and Italy. Could you stand up if you're in the audience? Let me give you a round of applause. All of our runners up. Runners up, yay! I see runners up there. It's over there. Congratulations over here. Well done. We're delighted to award you and to say thank you very much. And of course, to everybody who entered into this year's competition. So we're now going to have a panel discussion because it really would be nice to hear from our various finalists this year, to learn from them, the lessons that they have taken from their projects and to share some of the experience. So I'm really happy to invite up onto the stage to join me. So first of all, we have Susana Martins from Portugal. Susana, if you can come and join. We also have Olga Gość from Łódź in Poland. Apologies again for the pronunciation. Olga, come and join us. Also like to have Sonia join us, Sonia Risch from Madrid, who's coming from the Building a Bright Future project. Come join, yeah, come sit. And then we have 2 further people. We have Susanna from Keeping the Memory Alive, who's coming to join us. That's Susanna Mezarosova from Slovakia. And finally, Andrea Wied from Germany, who is part of the team that won the IVET category with the MOOC, if you'd like to join us. So thank you so much. Oh, fine, whatever. So, congratulations, everybody, first of all. We have a little bit of time, and of course, it would be nice as well if anybody has any questions from the audience, if you'd like to put to our finalists this year, we'd be delighted to put them as well. But we thought we'd start with a couple of kind of questions that we thought about beforehand, a couple of points we wanted to put to you. So starting with you, Susanna, in terms of the very young children that you've been working with. First of all, how did you succeed in making well-being and environmental awareness something that children who are so young were aware of? Because it's not given to all young children.
So thank you for the invitation to be here, and we are very pleased to be. So concerning your question about the environmental awareness in our kids, we try to play with them with daily routine activities. During the day, in the kindergarten, so they can, for example, don't waste time with activities concerning turn off the light, don't waste, be careful what you eat, and with routines like that.
Very also, basic things, in other words.
Basic, yeah, basic. We also prepared some activities with movement and sensory activities concerning their connection with nature, for them to work directly with the things outside and play. Also with ongoing activities like gardening and recycling outside with playing with the kids. About our project, we also try to develop mental and physical and social activities concerning the health of the well-being awareness, and try to develop the parts. It has been great to work
difficult,
with them.
Though, I can imagine.
Yes, too.
Yeah, challenging.
Challenging because they are too small.
Yes,
but
indeed.
we managed to involve them with playing and routines in the kindergarten.
And did you notice any difference from the schools in terms of was it easier in some countries than others?
I think the most important part was to get them involved with the tasks, and also with parents, because we involved the parents in these activities. They were always very active and participating with us, like with the community workshops and things that we provided during the projects. So it based on the home-based activities, that's something we started at school, and they finished at home, and vice versa, okay? For example, they at home try to do something, and then they bring to school life to perform.
Yeah, thank you. I think we'll come back to that later in terms also of involving parents, because I'm sure you had to at that age. Olga, you worked with a slightly older group. This is the podcast Us, winner that won. If you had to pick one aspect of the project that really warmed your heart or was important to you, what would that be?
Yeah, there is one. And I was really, the most surprising thing was for me that every single student spoke, was chatting. Of course, what I mean, we wanted them to record a podcast. So it is necessary to speak.
Yeah.
But we had our worries, because in a classroom, when you have 26 students, there is always one who is shy. Maybe this is not because they are not able to. They may have necessary skills, but they are shy. And we when you are ESL teacher, so you might consider it. Speaking is difficult in a foreign language.
Anyway.
Yeah, it is difficult. Let's be honest. So it was our main concern. But in the end, now I can see my students when they sat with a microphone, with a computer, enjoying the part of recording, and it was very touching and very moving while listening to their podcast, hearing everyone speak, chatting about their passions, because we also let them choose the topic they are genuinely passionate about. It was very, very important. So yeah, and it was also a chance for me to say, you see, you speak English. And this is not me speaking, and you sound really well, really, really well. So I am proud of my students and very, very happy.
Did they all make podcasts?
Every single one participated. They were divided into groups, and every single one member of a group spoke, said something, was chatting.
Pretty impressive, yeah. Thank you. I'm sure we'll come back to it a little bit later. Sonia, if I could come to you next, if I may. This is all about abandoned spaces, and these are physical spaces, aren't they, that you used. You know, what kind of a difference did that make to your students to be able to access those spaces? How valuable was it?
First of all, it was very important for them to raise their voices. And because our students are obviously older than yours, they are teenagers, so they like being asked about what they want to do in an eTwinning project. So we let them take decisions, we let them select everything, even vote for the places that they were going to work on. So for us, the most important thing was that, and they felt really valuable for this. And basically, what was important was that they chose what they wanted to do. So the plan of the project wasn't really done at the beginning, but they were building with their own decisions about what the activities and everything they wanted to do.
Maybe we'll come back to that later in terms of how important is it for a successful project to plan everything in detail before, or do you have to be flexible? Because I think there must be a bit of both, is there?
Yeah. Basically, with older students, if we plan everything in advance, they don't like it because it seems that it's really fixed and maybe it can be boring for them. And what is important for us as teachers, maybe is not important for them as teenagers. So we always let them choose something, or at least participate in every single activity, choosing something that's, we have to be flexible at that age.
Was it hard to find abandoned spaces in all the schools, was it?
Not really. We suggested, or they suggested, a place from each of the countries next to the schools, and they voted and they chose the one that is in Madrid, in my city. And it wasn't difficult because they wanted to work on a green area. It's not that is maybe an abandoned building, but a green area where they could build their park, a sustainable park. So for them was really meaningful.
Wasn't too hard to find it.
Yeah.
Thank you. If I could move on to you, Susanna, because of course this is a very sensitive and important project, and in terms of the topic you were dealing with, I just wondered what sort of change you saw in the students in terms of their feeling of responsibility.
Working on such a project we had, which deals with Black history in Europe in the 20th century, the Holocaust, made a big influence on my students. And I can say also for my colleague Christina, that it changed a lot in our students on being not only learners who studied about history, Black history of the 20th century, but also it has changed them to be responsible citizens, which is really very important. We were trying not to teach numbers of victims and such Black things in the project, but we wanted to show the young generation the stories of the lives of victims, of survivors of the Holocaust, then rescuers, those were people who were helping them, and also to show the stories of bystanders. It means people who were only looking at the situation and not helping. And they had such different kinds of patterns, and they found out the real values, what is the most important in life, how to behave, and how to become responsible citizen, because we can have better life only when we are responsible and when we are active. We can do the changes, we can respect what is necessary to respect. It means human rights, respect humans' dignity, democracy, and all the great values of the European Union. So I think the best thing of the project was that we have changed the attitudes of our students, and we shown them what is important for life. So the influence on the students was great, and me as a teacher could see those changes, and it is really very valuable for me and my colleague Christina.
Yeah, they carry on those changes.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I'm going to come then, if I may, to Andrea, because of course you're working with young adults. It's a different age group entirely. Just in terms of that international experience, what do they get out of that?
They learned that they are able to manage teamwork in an international team. Because in the beginning, the students of all the countries, they were really afraid to talk English, to have international teamwork. They were afraid they would not manage to solve problems together, not understand each other. And they really learned that they are able, and that they don't have to be perfect speaking English. It's not a question of having a perfect language competence, but they can solve problems, they can be creative together. And they also shared some tri-national view on the company. So they really could share perspectives and have a look on a company from the view of 3 different countries and see what are keys of success in each country, and they could compare and have a very wide view on this company.
Yeah, which gives them kind of a perspective they wouldn't have had otherwise,
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And does it influence their career choices, you think, going forward?
Yes, I think they will be much more straight going on, because I think if you have done such a project in your school, you will present yourself in a different way. You know that you have learned and experienced that you are able to do things that maybe cause some fear in the beginning, but that you can overcome this fear. And at the end, there's a product you have done together with other students from different cultures and countries, and that you have managed this. And this gives you strength for all of your life.
It's a bit like Olga's point about the confidence, isn't it? It's the same point again. Yeah. If we have any questions, we can maybe take them, or maybe somebody can let me know if there's any questions in the audience for our panel. Ruth, maybe you might let me know, or come and wave at me, because it's quite hard to see. But I would like to put a question to all of you, which is just about tips and suggestions, things that you think, that was something that really worked in this collaborative project, because you all face the same challenges, regardless of the age, working on a cross-border basis. We talked a bit about it in terms of how planned do you need to be beforehand. But maybe I could start with you, Susanna. I mean, any tip that you would give to people starting in eTwinning? We've lots of people joining us online this afternoon.
I think the most important is to have the teamwork and to be organized, to pick the right team, because it's very important to develop the tasks and ongoing activities during the project. Concerning my age of the students, it's very important to perform activities that involve them in their learning, like put them to decide and to choose what to do, and provide activities that they get involved with pleasure and joy. For example, draw together online meetings they love because they are very small. So tips for a new eTwinning project: define a topic and find activities that involve the students with the choices, not present everything planned already, what as teachers want to do, but rather let them choose what to do.
They localize themselves, they decide themselves what they actually want to do, yeah. What about you, Olga? Tips you'd like to give to people, suggestions you could make?
I think so. I think that too. One, regarding our project, the first one is about students, like the idea of podcasting. It resonated with our students really well. It is a modern tool, entertaining. So the end was fun. It was fun for them. And the other one is collaboration. I am very grateful for my partners, really. It was the first time we were working together, and it was me who was looking for the partners, and I am truly grateful. I think it is impossible for a project to fail when you have good partners and great collaboration. Everyone is committed, actually everyone is involved, full of ideas, willing to share ideas. So for me as a founder and responsible, maybe more responsible for management of the project, it was super easy. It was like a pleasure to run this project.
It's a good selection of partners.
I think I was very lucky, really lucky to find, because it wasn't difficult to find such partners. It went really quickly. I found them really quickly, and and collaboration is super important. And may I add something? I think also our great collaboration between teachers influence the great collaboration between our students. Like the result is so successful. So
okay, that's very positive. Susanna, what about you?
I think, as they were saying, for me, the most important thing is to set the example. If we show the students how to work collaboratively, how to communicate, then they are going to copy, because we are the examples for them. And also for me, it's very important that we make our students be active. So for us, and at my students' age, we can be facilitators, just watching what they are doing, obviously with the example before, but watching what they are doing and trying to help, but letting them collaborate together. So that's basically, this is the core of an eTwinning project, but I would say communication and collaboration as the basis of everything, and setting the example as teachers.
So the teacher set the example and then you pass it on, indeed, Susanna, what about you? Any tips you'd like to share?
I also agree with my colleagues, and collaboration is the core thing in eTwinning project. But I would say also, I would mention passion. Passion of the teachers to do good job, and also passion of the students who are interested in the topic. Then, of course, when you want to have good project, you have to have good partner to collaborate, and then you can have a lot of music for almost no money from eTwinning.
You're not going to learn a fortune out of this, in other words, no. Thank you, Susanna. Olga, what about you? Any tips you could give people?
I think it's important to have a good mix between structure for the students and mandatory tasks and deadlines or something like this to give structure, and then the freedom to be creative. So, and this is not easy to find, I think. It depends on the project.
I'm going to ask a kind of a mean question now, because it all sounds like it all worked absolutely brilliantly, right? You're the winners this year, very successful. But are there things that you would do differently if you had to do it again? If I could maybe start, maybe Susanna, is there anything that you think, I would do this differently? What would you do?
I don't know, but I think that maybe the way we meet is quite difficult to find, and we are only 4. So I can imagine with teams of 15 how difficult it can be to plan and to organize everything. So maybe trying to be not so flexible with this. So planning from the beginning, maybe times where we can meet and plan everything. Even though we are quite organized, but I still find difficult to find fixed dates where we can meet and we can discuss everything, because we have our own different holidays and everything. But I guess that this happens to everyone in all the projects. But as we have been working together for several projects, I think that little by little we are learning from our own mistakes, and we have always something to improve. Also to have a look at reflect after finishing the project. In this project, what did we, or what can we improve?
What could be improved?
So reflecting on this is very important.
Busy agendas, everybody's got a different agenda, finding the space, Susanna, is there anything you would do differently?
I think we planned lots of activities with experiments and place-based activities outdoors and outside. but we could do it more for them to discover things by themselves. We did it, but we could do it more often. About the meetings, we had that struggle too, because we are a big team, and we decided to sometimes do the meetings in pairs and on the fourth, depending on the time schedule.
It was too difficult to get everybody together,
it was
so you do
difficult
pairs.
Too, but I think we managed them to develop play-based activities and organized with the parents to get all the countries to do the same tasks and the same challenge, joint activities together. I think it's we need to improve.
Yeah, yeah. Olga, what about you? Would you do anything differently, do you think?
I think it would be good to use other tools or more tools to give our pupils possibility to work in their groups. Of course, we worked in the twin space, and we had a CryptoPad and other tools. But for them, as they are adults, they would work maybe more efficiently if they had a special tool, not WhatsApp, but something like this, in what students in this age use.
Yeah, we have a question about the IT coming in. Sorry, Andrea, not Olga. Olga, is there anything that you would have done differently, do you think?
There is always something what can be improved. But what I love about eTwinning is like we can be flexible. So when we encounter a problem, we can like fix it during the project, and I think it is great. But if I have to answer your question, maybe I would highlight the amount of activities, because sometimes we can feel overloaded because we dream. We have, in our heads, minds, the dream project. We see the results. But later, sometimes it can be hard. So maybe like reflect on the number of activities. But in general, I love this project. I'm super happy and really appreciate that it won. So thank you.
Susanna, anything you'd like to, would you have done differently if you were to do it again?
We were working on the project for 1 school year.
Okay.
And time is the thing I was missing. So maybe we could prolong it for 1 more year to do more topics. That's one thing. And the other one is that we were 2 partners working in the project. So maybe it could be interesting to have more partners in the project and compare what other students, other partners would bring to the project, and maybe the results would be even more colorful with more partners.
Well, that's a question that actually has come in as well from online. Do you think that the number, I'd like to ask each of you actually about this, because very different sizes of projects here. The question is, do you think the number of partners helps to make a quality project and organize your work better? So maybe starting at the end, a lot of partners, what do you think? What would you say?
With lots of partners, we can enrich our project, because we have, in our case, several countries through Europe, between the Azores, in my case, in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean until Greece and Turkey. So we have different perspectives to add to the project. So I think if we have what here Olga was saying, a structure and well partners and well organized, we can enrich the project.
Okay.
It will be more private, I think, right? Now, with lots of partners, we can share more our knowledge, I think, and
do you think it's a good idea to start with a small number for your first project and then go to bigger? Is that advice you would give?
If you are starting, it's a good advice, because when we have lots of partners, it's difficult to organize all the tasks, deadlines that we talked about, and everything gets done if one partner does not participate as the other. So if you're starting, it's better with a small number.
Yeah.
But if you are experienced in eTwinning, it's I think, a good option to enrich the project.
Yeah. Sonia, what do you think? You're kind of a mid-size, I think, aren't you? Yeah.
I prefer smaller groups. I mean, maybe not 2, but for me 4 is the perfect number. We have to think about the number of students as well. So the higher the number of students is, the more difficult as well. And again, it has a lot to do with the age of the students as well. But for example, I had 2 classes. So that's 50-something students, and multiply per 4, so that's 100 and something students, and it's not so easy.
Indeed.
So for me, my favorite number is 4. But of course, I think you have to listen to your heart and to your plan, and if it works with you, I mean, go for it. You have to see what works with you, with your plan, with your school, because you have to look at your environment and
see what works.
But for me, the perfect number is 4.
Yeah. Anything you'd like to add in terms of the numbers? Yeah, we've already 2. You would go for a bigger project now, I think, would you? Yeah, this stage, yeah. Okay, then we have a question in as well, too, about the IT technology, because you kind of mentioned it as well, too, in terms of using tools that are maybe more appropriate for the age group that you're working with. But the question is, what IT technology helped you the most in the success of your projects? I mean, what tool do you think you used that was really effective? Anyone like to take that?
In our case, the collaborative apps that we use, and as we have younger learners, apps like Shatterpix that manage to do some tasks, and DigiPad, Murals, collaborative activities that we could share with each partner, and the kids could be actively participants in the app, because as we are with young children, they don't use the twin space. No. So we try to get apps and things that they can provide their involvement in high-tech.
What did you use, Olga? Because you said earlier that you were worried in terms of you weren't using the tools that your target audience was using. What did you actually end up using in terms of IT tools?
We used CryptoPad. Some kind, and the twin space. We tried the Rocket Chat.
Yeah.
And yes, then we used things like Mentimeter and.
And for collaboration, for communication, what did you use? Twin space.
Twin space.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And for the students themselves?
The students themselves. Yes. Yeah. They were registered, and the teachers, and we had video conferences with via Teams.
Teams or something, yeah, it's for everybody. Okay, I hope that helps to answer a little bit to the questions. There's also a question about, and I think it's directed to you, about the podcast. Did the students only record podcasts in their project? It was primarily podcasts, wasn't it?
Yes, only podcasts.
Yeah.
But it was like, we had different stages. So first they thought they came up with the ideas about the topics of each episode. Later they created scripts, and the final stage was recording. So the whole project lasted the whole year, and it was a process, different stages, and the final result, we have the final product podcast. Many episodes.
Okay. Were they short ones or long ones? They were a mixture, are they?
Both.
Okay. This is a general question for you all, and I think it's a very interesting question. How hard or how easy was it to convince your colleagues to work with you in these projects? And I'm sure that has got many stories behind it as well, too. Would you like to start? How difficult was it, Susanna, to get your colleagues to work?
It depends on the topic. When we define the topic to work and it goes according to our school project, and we involve them, and the kids like, and it has to do with the topic at the school we are working, it's easy. When we want to be a little bit more challenging, it's more
adventurous.
Yes, adventures. It's more difficult for them to go in the. They always do. Are you going to support us? Because when we have more experience in eTwinning, so they feel a little bit afraid to go when it's not their field. But we managed.
Yeah.
It's difficult for them.
I can imagine. Yeah. I mean, from your point of view.
I teach at Business Academy, which is the school with business objectives, and those teachers who teach business have different projects. They do not work for eTwinning, but I have a good supporters, two good supporters at school who are the teachers of ICT, and they usually help me with new applications, but sometimes I am not an ICT teacher, but sometimes I come with the new application from different kinds of educational activities, webinars, which are perfectly working in Slovakia, and we learn a lot of different kinds of applications. So sometimes I am.
Here comes trouble.
Yeah, I can support my colleagues and bring something new. So there is a cooperation, especially with ICT teachers at my school.
Okay, so it's kind of a reciprocal and works quite well. Yeah. What about you in terms of your colleagues?
For us, it's a bit different because, as I mentioned before, we have been working together for several projects, so that makes things easier. And we always have like changing roles. So in every project, we change roles, and then two of us are the founders, and the other ones are following us. So we give us time to relax a bit. So we choose every time we choose two that are leading, choosing maybe the activities, obviously discussing together, and then the other ones are a bit more relaxed. And then for the next project, we change roles.
Change roles, yeah. So that's probably a good strategy.
And we also like students seeing this. So you can do many roles in a different project. You can change depending on your abilities, your skills.
Okay, it's a good arrangement. What about you and colleagues?
I think sometimes it is difficult when you are not an eTwinner. So you may not know what we feel.
Yeah. You haven't been bitten by the bug yet? No.
Yeah, yes. But I am an English. I teach English at my school, so for me it's easier. And this project was mainly about teaching English, learning English. So it was easy. So I collaborated with my IT teacher. So this is like a must when you do eTwinning project. So it was easy, and also with art teacher, because our students also design and created like graphic designs for each episode. But it was also fun and easy. But I think like teachers maybe without experience, and it also involves a certain amount of extra work. So you just need to keep trying and persuading your colleagues at school, please.
Slow project, slow process, yeah.
Yeah.
Motivation. You need to be motivated.
Motivated no matter what, yeah.
But also I think it has it has to do also with the stage you are teaching in. So for example, in infants, all the colleagues work together. It's like kind of, everything is multidisciplinary, and also maybe in primary, but in secondary is more difficult because we have our own subjects, so it's more difficult to get your colleagues from your own school, and that's why you get people from your colleagues in the project, but it's quite different depending on the stage.
Yeah. Andrea, what about you in terms of colleagues? Because again, a different level of education. How difficult is it?
You have to ask Garrett, my colleague, because he convinced us to use eTwinning, because we integrated it into an Erasmus Plus project, and we had two colleagues, Maria and Garrett, who were very experienced in eTwinning, and they convinced us to use it. Yes.
Okay. So it wasn't so difficult in so far?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Very interesting questions come in, or point comes in. The most complicated thing to do in an eTwinning project is to get the pupils to collaborate effectively, especially when they are very young and cannot be registered on TwinSpace. So any ideas on how to get them involved? The pupils themselves. Yeah.
In our case, it was with experiments, discovery, and like together on online meetings, they were very active and very motivated to do it. Like when we decided to do a challenge, like a coding challenge or a drawing together using Colorillo. It's a specific app for them to draw online. They love to do that. We start in Portugal to draw, and they can see in Greece what we are doing. So they are very motivated to that. So to involve them, we take pictures, we get to them to make the choice to plan and to decide what to do together. So they feel heard.
Okay, so they're involved in it in that way. So that works with very young. What about with your podcasters? Was it easy to get the students themselves to collaborate?
We asked them to use forum, to introduce themselves, and so they feel motivated to read about other students and just log in and visit the website. And also, yes, we mainly use the forum. The forum was our tool to motivate them to use that, because they needed to read the question or write something or find a question for them to be able to answer later. So it was our method in that project.
Okay. Thank you very much. There are a couple of questions specifically on the podcast, the tools you were using, etc. But I suggest maybe that whoever would like to ask those questions contacts you directly, if that's okay, Olga, because they were very specific in terms of what we're going to do. So thank you so much for sharing. So thank you very much.
Do we leave the mic?
You can leave the mic behind, yeah. So thank you to Susanna, Olga, Sonia, Susanna, and Andrea. Thank you very much. We're coming to the end. So just a couple of rounding up type comments and some feedback. First of all, just to everybody, particularly everybody who's online as well, don't forget to go and visit the virtual exhibition. There's loads and loads of information in there, lots of tips and examples and resources that you can find. So the virtual exhibition is open and you can go and you can join it. And indeed, here is the QR code in case you want to go look at it right now. Thank you everyone for joining us online today. We've been really delighted, first of all, with the feedback, input, and of course to have so many eTwinners, not just in the room, but also joining us online. So thank you so much for joining us online today. I would like to remind you that tomorrow you can also come back and join us at 4:30 to join us for the second keynote speech, which will be given by Hal Costa, and it's towards a better society with better learning. And then on Saturday, you can also join us online between 11:30 and 1 o'clock. And for that is for the outcomes of the networking activity. There'll be another panel discussion on citizenship and life skills, preparing students for a changing world. And of course, there will also be the closing remarks. So you're very welcome to join us online for those final sessions. And with that, we're going to say goodbye to everybody who's joining us online. And we hope that you enjoy the rest of the evening wherever you are. And we hope that you've now got the eTwinning bug for once and for all, and that you're out there flying the eTwinning flag right the way across Europe. So thank you very much, and goodbye to our online audience. So now it's just us, okay?